it's going to be a clear winner. The winner of the 35mm test is beep. Sorry for the lack of clothes, I just woke up.
Coming up in today's video, I'm going to compare 9 different 35mm lenses for Leica M out and give honorary shout outs or mentions to many other 35mm lenses too. Join me as I head to Brighton to do my 35mm test. Hopefully by the end of this video you'll know everything you need before buying your next 35mm lens. Hey guys, Matt here from Leica.com. If you're a new viewer, I'm a YouTuber and I've currently reviewed about 36 Leica M out 35mm lenses, and I've also listed the various reviews on the Leica.com blog, link below if you don't yet get the Leica newsletter. These are the lenses which are going to be getting the optical side-by-side test, and then I will include others too. And this is the scorecard so we can keep track of which is the best. Okay, coming up I have shared sample photos with most of these lenses, but I have pulled a few extras out to those in the test just to give them some love and show you other lenses which you may want to consider. Number 1, the Voigtlander Nocturne 35-1.2. This is the version 2, which is quite big. The version 3 is slightly smaller. Big lens, heavy lens, great performance. You'll just have to take my word for it because it's not in the test, but it will be one of the best. Small lens, if you want high resolution, low contrast. My particular lens anyway is the Leica Ron 35-3.5, one of the smallest, as you'll see. Another amazing lens, but now discontinued, so that's why I didn't include it. Comes in collapsible and rigid. This is the Light Lens Lab 35 f2.8 element, which is a copy of a Leica Summicron version 1. This one's collapsible, and I say there's a rigid one as well. Amazing lens. See that video, I can link it underneath if you want to see how that compares to many of these. It will outperform the version 3 Summicron, just to give you an idea. Another lens right in the test is the Colorscope R35 2.5 and the newer version, the Colorscope R35 3.5. So both small, both excellent. This one's sharper. See that video? I've done videos on all of these, but the majority of the rest of this video will be testing 9 different lenses, most of these plus a few others that I borrowed from one of my awesome patrons, Toby. And one point to mention, I thought I'd packed the Typoc Simera 35 1.4 lens for this. I often use it for videos, so it's normally got ND filters on. So I picked it up, saw it with the ND filters on, threw it in the bag, I was ready to go. It wasn't until I was actually in Brighton that one of you guys met me in the street and said, "Hey, how's it going? Oh, what lens are you using? Oh, you're using the 28. And I'm like, 28? I thought I was using the 35. And it wasn't until I actually looked, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. The 28's got the silver nose. The original 28, the new one's got a black nose, where the original 35 has no silver nose. The lens you're actually going to see is the Typoc Simera 28 1.4, not the Typoc Simera 35 1.4. As you can see, the 28 is actually a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. Optically, they're very similar in how they render. They've both got like a warm tone, as you'll see, or you'll have to take my word for it for the 35. Amazing for shooting video, which is why I use them for video. But because it's the 28, you're going to have more depth of focus in focus because it's the 28, not a 35. So just bear that in mind. But for the rest of this video, you'll see this lens being listed and not this lens. And that's because I took the 28, not the 35 by mistake. Okay, let's get into it. Lens characteristics, probably the reason you clicked. To test these lenses, I headed down to Brighton on the south coast and I tested the following lenses. These are the 9 lenses we actually did the side-by-side optical test with. Even if I'm showing other lenses in this review, you will see them labelled on the following photos. First, lens bokeh. So to test the bokeh, I waited till it was dark, and then we had a kind of a beach view from our window, and so I could shoot out the window and see the pier lights. And then by kind of shooting each lens at f2 or their widest aperture, if it was like a 2.8 lens, I then did an edge crop and then a more central crop. So edge crop, here you can see, I guess it just depends on the type of bokeh that you like. There's no right or wrong. Central crop, the bokeh ball should be more circular and you'll get to see like the true characteristics. So that's what they're like at f2 or 2.8 if it's a 2.8 lens. Vignetting, so excuse the clothes, they woke up and it was sunny, it's like quick start doing my test photos. This is the following morning, so shot all the lenses at f2 or as I say 2.8 if that's the maximum. Next, center sharpness, starting with close up at 1 meter. Again, sorry for the lack of clothes, I just got up, I was trying to get through all the lenses. So grabbed some breakfast things as my subject, did a central crop, the focus is on the date, so pause the video to see which one you think is the sharpest. Most of them did pretty well up close. Now at infinity. Now the first thing I noticed was there's like a body on the ground that I didn't notice when taking the photo. Hopefully they're okay. Here you can see the crop, and then again here's another crop. This is out the same window but shooting exactly like across the street, so a bit more straight on. Again, most of them are pretty good in the center. Here you can see the scorecard so far. I'll keep adding to it. Edge sharpness, so same photo but now taking a corner-ish crop, not right in the corners, and it's quite surprising some of the results. The Voigtländer did exceptionally well. These are probably the best 5. Pause the video, and again I'll add it to the scorecard. So what about lens glow? So this is not like a full test, but I just wanted to use the light panel to both illuminate the subject and then also test if there's any glow, if the lens really suffered. And I think the Voigtländer had the most glow, but make up your own mind from these images. Sun stars, so I set all lenses to f11, sitting on Brighton Beach, and then using the wall to kind of break and give me the sun star edge. Some are better than others, some flare more than others. I use the Lumix S9 for most, the Jupiter 12 on the M262 because it doesn't fit on mirrorless. Lens flare, exactly the same test. I do tend to prefer warm flares such as the Summicron or the Typoc. Personally, if you want the wackiest flare, get the Jupiter 12, especially if you stop down, but again it doesn't fit all cameras. Now lens colours, so for this I took the crop from the previous photo and then I cropped it again just to see the sky. You can see that some lenses are much warmer than others. Again, I've added it to the scorecard. Okay, so that's the optical characteristics done, but that's only 50% when it comes to buying a lens. The second half or the reason you may want to buy a lens is the lens features. So let's cover lens features next. Okay, when looking at focus tabs, you have 3 main categories in one anomaly. Original vintage lenses such as this Leica lens or copies of vintage lenses often have a focus tab focus lock combined, and so you have to depress the tab before you can unlock when you reach infinity. This would be quite annoying for, say, street photographers because it often locks exactly when you don't want it to. So for me, this is not my first choice. One caveat is if you know the Typoc Samara lenses, these were originally designed with a focus lock, but then I think so many people complained that Typoc made like a version 2 which now have a modern tab. So unless you're buying used, you won't see this on a Typoc lens. The next anomaly, should we say, is like the vintage line Voigtlander lenses. They have a focus tab, but it's not actually like a lock. So you'll only really see this on, say, Voigtlanders, less common on other lenses. Works fine, but it's not quite as good as a modern style tab, as I'll show you. Next category is the best, which I think of, is what I call a modern tab design. These are brilliant because you don't need to look at your camera or your lens. You can just put your finger in the dent and then you'll know from certain positions whether you're at infinity, close focus, etc. And then the third main style is no tab at all. So you often see this on bigger lenses such as the Voigtlander Nocturne 1.2, the Voigtlander APO f2. So that's focus tabs. Okay, next let's look at minimum close focus distance. Originally, Leica cameras and lenses were designed with a minimum close focus distance of 1 meter, so vintage lenses tend to be limited to 1 meter for close focus distance. You then get remakes of vintage lenses such as this one from Voigtländer Artist Lab, great lens, but one limitation, it is 1 meter close focus distance as was the original. So those are like your worst case scenario, but they're fine if you're kind of shooting street and not wanting to do close-ups. Next you have your standard 0.7 meters close focus distance of modern rangefinder cameras like your digital M cameras. So it'd be something like this, like a Summicron Preaspherical version 3. Great lens, super small, but limited to 0.7 meters. Fine if using a rangefinder, but what if you want to use mirrorless? Now if you're shooting with a mirrorless camera or you're shooting your Leica M camera with an EVF, you can gain a lot by buying a lens that focuses closer than 0.7 meters, especially for 35mm lenses, because it just makes the lens so much more multi-purpose. So all of these lenses focus closer than 0.7 meters. Many of the bigger Voigtlander 35mm lenses, such as the 35 APO, 35 Nocturne, focus to around 0.5 meters, so 0.5, 0.5. The best lens, if you don't want to spend thousands on the Leica 35mm APO lens, which focuses to 0.3 meters, is this. This is the Typox Samara 35 1.4, and it focuses to 0.45 meters, so slightly closer than most lenses, which are between 0.5 and 0.6 meters. Now, if you're in like R lenses, I included this in the sharpness tests and things just for your interest. If you're in like R lenses, the advantage of R lenses is the SLR camera lenses, and so then the designs go much closer. The R lens will give you much more functionality compared to the much smaller sibling Summicron M lens, because this is 0.7 meters, this is 0.3 meters. So if you're one of those people that wants to photograph your food and you're traveling and want to show your coffees, your cameras and all those sorts of things, the R lens adapted to M mount with your M camera and then shooting it with an EVF is a much better do everything lens than a small walkabout lens such as the M lens. But obviously you can see there's quite a size difference. Talking of size, we need to cover size next. Okay, when we're looking at the size of 35mm lenses, they do vary quite a lot. I've left this small lens in as a comparison, and I'll show you that again, smaller lenses, but these are the biggest lenses going down in order. So obviously your R lens on an adapter, which is how you're going to have to use it on a like M camera, is going to be the biggest. You've got your Nocturne 35 1.2, amazing lens, but I often don't use it because it's too big to carry relatively. You've then got your 35 APO, which is much bigger than the Leica 35 APO. Type-out lenses are pretty big for an M-mount lens. I find they're often better on mirrorless, but they do give a lot more functionality in with the size. So if you want the close focus distance, the fast aperture and all those things, it's probably worth carrying this lens compared to say this lens. So those are the biggest lenses, and there's your benchmark. I'll leave that in for the next test to show you. Okay, now when I think of like M cameras, I think of small lenses as one of the reasons you shoot with like an M camera. If you want 35mm small lenses, these are some of your options. Smallest to biggest, or maybe joint smallest, I'll show you that in a second, is the Voigtlander color scoper. It's even got a filter on, so it could go even slightly smaller. Color scoper 35 3.5, good lens, but obviously it's limited by being a 3.5 maximum aperture. Another 3.5, the Leica we've already seen. You've then got your classic color scoper 2.5, so slightly faster aperture. But then the best size to functionality ratio, I'd say, is the fun leader, because the fun leader is only a little bit bigger, and this is a 1.4 lens. It gives you like a glow look wide open and then sharp once you stop it down a little bit. So for me, that's probably the best size weight ratio, and it's light. It's really light, probably one of the lightest actually. I'll do weight in a second, maybe in a chart. If you're on a small 35mm Summicron, you're better to look at the pre-spherical rather than the later spherical lenses, because the pre-spherical are much smaller. Now there's one lens I've not mentioned in this video because I believe it's discontinued, but it might be the smallest or joint smallest. So if I just pull these to one side. Now to show it properly, I need to mount them both on a camera. So I've got my MDA here, just back from service. I'll probably give this a mention in another video. That's the size on my MDA, pretty amazing. And then, which is smaller? So next to it, I've got the Light Lens Lab 35 f2 8 element. So it's a copy of a version 1 Summicron, but they made it as a collapsing version. So the reason I've not shared this in this kind of big test overall is because the lens is discontinued. So although I've done videos on it and I love it, there's no point kind of getting people's hopes up when you can't buy it. So the difference with this lens, just to give it some love, this is one of my favorite lenses because it's LTM mount and it's collapsible. So you get the same performance as a version 1 Summicron, which is amazing, better than the later ones, up to until it came spherical. See the blog post on all the different Summicron lenses. So amazing performance, and then also they made it collapsible, so it's available in rigid and collapsible. I've got the rigid one. The rigid one looks, say, a bit like that, where it's got a tab and everything, a modern tab. But if you want smallest, or if you love like a 3 cameras, sometimes these occasionally come up on eBay. Not particularly cheap because they're like in demand now that they're no longer made. So for your smaller 35mm lenses, the Light Lens Lab 8 element wins because this is 35mm f2. This is 35 3.5. This one's got much more character, the lens. This one's much more modern. Now I need to mention weight, because small size such as this Leica lens doesn't necessarily mean that this is the lightest. So I've just been trying to do a quick field test. I'll put some numbers on the screen properly. This is another lens that I didn't mention for size. It looks big, but the majority of the lens goes inside the camera. So it's actually quite small, and it's one of the lightest. This is a Jupiter 12. Amazing lens, really good flare, as you'll see, if not already. So that's one of the lightest, and probably one of the best for character. The original Scope R2.5 is very light. The Voigtlander Artist Lab is very light. And then these two are reasonably light. Put numbers on the screen, and then if you want the worst, probably the Nocturne 1.2 is the heaviest. Or obviously the Summer come with adapter. Heaviest, second heaviest. Okay, I've added the actual weight values to the scorecard, so let's see who is the winner. If you compare based on optical performance only, the winner is the APO-Lanthar from Voigtlander, as expected. But if size matters or if character matters, it's really kind of down to personal preference as to which is the winner for you. Personally, I like small. Now, what about real world photos? Now, despite all these testings and things that we've done, I think you can make great images with any of the lenses once you learn they're kind of the pros and the cons, what they're good at, what not to do. Like if it flares, you can just use a lens hood, things like that. Personally, I prefer to carry smaller, lighter lenses, especially for a street photography like this, because then I'm more likely to carry it. So even though I know the APO is the best performer, I've got zero interest in buying the APO lens, and I'm probably going to be carrying the Voigtlander or some Optical instead. Okay, let's do some honorary 35mm lens mentions that are not included in this video. If you ever need to find 35mm lens videos for Leica M out, just search Mr. Leica and then whatever the lens name is, or just go to the mrleica.com blog. So the first one would be the Voigtlander 35mm f1.7. Hopefully it's going to come up. Yep. So amazing lens. I swapped for the f2 version, but check out that video if you want to see it. Really good sun stars and sharp. It seems almost sharper than the f2, but the f2 is smaller. And when I tested side by side, the f2 seemed as good. But yeah, I really love the 1.7 on film and digital, even from wide open. Next lens we need to give a mention to is the Distagon, which is a Zeiss lens, 35mm f1.4. So this is sharper than any other 35mm lens I've tested at 1.4, possibly because of the Zeiss 3D pop and higher contrast, but it definitely looks sharper than the Leica, say, Summilux latest lens is wide open. I'd say the Summilux is a more smooth. This is just like raw sharpness. I'd say amazing for shooting buildings, things like that. So check out the Distagon if you don't mind a bigger lens. Fantastic performer. Talking of Zeiss, I also reviewed the Bokeh 35mm. Now that comes in f2 and f2.8. The one I reviewed was a 2.8. Now this is a problem. This lens should be very good. So the lens tested in this video was the vintage Contax RF version. The modern version, no, the modern version is the ZM one, which means like an M out. It should be really good, but the copy I bought just happened to be not good, so I sent it back. So this is a possibly very good lens. Obviously it's limited to 2.8. If you need faster, you need obviously f2 or f1.4, but it should be better than you see in this video. So don't take this video as a definite, because I feel it should be better, and maybe I'll try and get another one at a later date. There you can see there's also an f2, and the f2 is a bit bigger to the 2.8, which is why I got the 2.8. Other lenses to mention for you Leica lovers, you've got the Summilux 35mm. So there's two versions. You've got the older Summilux, which is this one. So it's still in a spherical lens. You've basically got pre-spherical like the steel rim. I still need to do a review on that. You've then got the spherical, which is this one, and then you've got the latest one, which is like, I guess you call it the spherical 2. So good lens, but I'm sure some of you love it, and I don't want to upset anybody, but I didn't think it was that great. I thought the there was no kind of wow factor from the images for me. Now the lens that's just probably the best 35mm lens for like M mounts, let's say you're a M user, would be the 35mm APO. So the advantage of the APO is it focuses to 0.3 meters. So this video compares the APO to the newest newest Summilux. If you're using only an M camera and not say an SL camera like I use, and you want to get close and you want one lens to do everything, if you've got a big enough budget, the Summicron 35f2 APO is the best lens in my opinion. If using an SL camera, you just use like a Light Lens Lab close focus adapter, and then you can use any lens and focus it closer via the helicoid. This is the main benefit of this lens. Yes, it's great because it's an APO, but for me the main benefit is both the close focusing ability and it being smaller than the Voigtlander APO. But yeah, not cheap. Right, I think that's most of the ones I've covered. As I say, check the full list on the MrLeica.com blog. So I've reviewed most of them. There's a few others like TT Ardsan 35 APO. There's the version 1 Voigtlander Nocturne. The Nocturne in this video was a single coated, so this is the classic one. I had no issues with it, but there you can see it compared to the single coated. The single coated has got the blue SC on the front, which is the one used for this video. As I say, see that video to compare it to Summicron. Let me know in the comments what is your preferred 35mm lens for Leica M mount. Did I miss any? Hopefully I covered most of them, and if not, the majority are already reviewed on the blog. Link below to the newsletter if you don't yet get the Leica newsletter. And as always, a huge thanks to my amazing patrons.